What's up, everybody? That time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the month.
Yes, it is.
Listen to the good,
The band.
the ugly. I'm Big Papa.
And I'm just Jeff.
Just plain old vanilla bean Jeff.
Whatever.
There you go.
There it is.
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. We're not supposed to talk too long. We've been told we talk too long by some fucking asshole. And in that case, we're going to bring the asshole in the studio today. I'm just not even going to play around. We're just going to say, hey, come into the studio, asshole.
Coming to the Ultimate Ear Studio
The Ultimate Ear Studio, where you can hear your own tears.
with Ultimate Ears.
There you go.
Mr. Bill Hatch.
Bill Hatch. Turn your camera on. There you
There he is.
go.
That's the shortest intro I've ever seen you guys do.
Well,
Thank
yeah,
God.
because usually we talk about
Normally
stuff.
I want to open a vein waiting. I'm like, come on, you know.
Wow.
Yep.
Anyway,
How
okay,
far
let's get to
after
it.
that
Yeah.
do you at least wait till the first guest comes on and talks, or do you be like,
Not
nope, still
usually,
not
not
going to be
usually.
one?
Like,
No, you know what he does?
That's what I'm saying. I don't
Fast
have
forward.
time to that. I'm like,
This-
that's right. I'm like, okay. Just,
This isn't going to be one of those episodes.
Nope.
Nope.
Uh-uh.
Right.
What's your favorite episode that you've watched so far?
That one you had the guy that was talking about his band
Oh, that guy.
and all the girl. Yeah, that one was great.
That one.
I love that one.
Such a
Yeah.
dick.
Wow.
You really have never
Awesome.
watched not one of these episodes.
I've watched them, but I can't really remember. I have watched them.
Did you
but
watch
I don't really remember who the hell you've had on.
Did you watch
honestly.
the Joey Allen one?
Oh, dude.
The warrant. The warrant. You didn't watch the
have-
warrant episode?
You have to watch that one.
I don't.
No.
I'm not a fan. I don't
Where we
really-
debunked
Yeah. Oh,
all
God, did we
the
ever.
the drummer lies
Yeah.
that we've been told over the years.
Over the years.
drummer lies. What do you mean?
Uh-huh.
Our local friend that was the
Oh.
drummer from Warrant when he
which,
never really
which,
was.
Which one? Because I think there's two local drummers who are prone to hyperbole, shall we say?
Ah.
Right.
The most prone to hyperbole is the one he's prone to hyperbole on everything he talks about, photographer from Playboy. And
Okay.
We
Yeah,
know
I
who
think
we're
he's
talking
actually
about.
more credible than the other one, but right. Okay.
no.
Yeah.
No,
The
there's
other
no
one looks
credit.
kind of like Skeletor, and actually got sued by a band to stop saying that he ever played in the band because he didn't.
Oh.
Didn't know that. We ought to have him on
No,
the
we
show.
like
should have
that.
him on.
No, you shouldn't really.
The big lie. So,
know.
Anyway.
for those of you who don't know, Mr. Bill Hatch, William Hatch, Willie Stomper, yes, he will. Billy and I have been friends for, acquaintances. I would say more acquaintances. Friends.
Yeah.
Friends. Yeah, friends.
Yeah.
No, Billy's one of my best friends. We've been friends for, holy shit, dude.
Or it'll be 40 years this summer that we met.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And you still talk
wait,
to
And we
him?
weren't friends. Yeah.
How do you
know,
remember the date?
Mike was annoying back then. Like the first couple years he was around, we were like, oh, he'd just gotten out of high school and he was hanging out with. I think Rags was hooking up with one of his classmates, probably. And we were young. We were all young.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah, it was summer of '85. I remember it.
Yeah.
But in late '86 is when we became better buddies. When I was living at Casa Grande, and you were coming over and hanging out with me, Lisa, and Lori, and Lee, and the Joes and Mark Van Martin.
The Joes.
Well,
it was
Joe
the-
Bertali,
well, it
Joe
was the-
Bucco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right. It was the Mayhem Paris,
Lee
Yeah.
Anderson,
Blitzkrieg.
Mark
day,
Van
Yeah.
Marter. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his. How do you remember the date so much? 40 years. How do you?
I don't know. I just have a weird thing.
That's
with
not the.
date. I really do.
That's not
I
when you
just
made
always
Mr.
have.
Zoggs famous, is it?
No, that was '86.
It was 86.
August. That was August 12th, 1986, to be exact.
Oh, that article that was written about you in the paper.
Yes.
Yes.
August 12th, 1986. Yes.
Wow.
That one.
You didn't have a guitar in your hand.
Oddly enough.
You had
no.
all this black shit all over your fingertips.
They wouldn't let me have that. I asked.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, there's a lot of bands that could use this as a marketing thing.
Yeah.
Please, can I
right.
get something good out of this deal?
No.
And they were like, hey, Bill, how about you go fuck yourself? How about that?
All right.
Yeah.
So Bill and I have been friends for a long time. Bill's always been the whole time I've known him. He's been a musician, and I feel one of Syracuse's better
Better.
players. I would say one of the best players that we've seen around here. Back then. Not now.
Yeah.
No, not now.
Yeah, I would say, like I had a moment back then. I was a much better player, when I was in my 20s, for sure. I listened to like a live recording recently. The guy that's doing the Paulie's Vault, John.
Yeah.
So he uncovered a tape, and Paulie's Vault collection was below zero. And I'm like, geez, I go, that's all it said. I go, well, I don't know when that could have been, so it could have been after I was in the band,
Right.
Well, Rags and I started the band in 85 or 80, 85, late 85.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, late 85. And then, but anyway, it turned out to be the very last time that me, Frank, and Steve played together, and Sumo was playing bass. It was the end of, I would say, the original Below Zero years, right? Because shortly after that, I moved to New York. Frank was already playing in Maryland's Chamber. He'd pretty much left the band, but Robbo had been playing with us, and Robbo decided like he didn't want to play this gig. It was the benefit for Paul Grillo, which
Mm-hmm.
was like I want to say it was like January or February of 90,
Yeah.
And we just got together, like it was an impromptu thing, like, okay, we'll do it. Robbo said, hey, I'm not going to do it. And we're like, fuck, what are we going to do? We called up Frank. I go, dude, will you do this one? Because, you never know with Frank, he was always kind of moody and, depending on when you caught him. Right?
Yeah.
So
No, not Frank.
he was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, all right, I'll come in and play. We did one rehearsal with me, him, and Sumo. And he and Sumo, I honest to God, Sumo and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago at the, he's playing with Grant Sabbath now with his brother and Grant Warrior and all those guys and Chris Weichman from Brand New Sin. And, he said, dude, that show, I don't know what it was, but I just felt like, like you have those gigs where you're like everything you were just on.
Yes.
Like everything just went bam, bam, and you were like, and I go, dude, I'm telling you, if you listen to the band, I was just like blown away by how tight me, Frank, and Sumo were. I mean, it was incredible. It really was incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mentioned this because I'm listening to it and I'm going, dude, I couldn't play like that right now. If you fucking put a gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to do that shit. I just don't have it. My right hand, I don't have the control anymore. I think it's, Mike, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. Like, we're convinced that some of our decisions in the past have caught up to
Our
us
extracurricular
activities.
Accoutrements.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I do. I have too much tension. So it's very hard. I don't have the speed, the precision that I just don't have it. I still play. I play all the time, but I don't really play like that anymore.
Yeah.
So and honestly, compared to, I don't know, like 20 other guitar players I can name off the top of my head locally, I suck compared to all of them. So it's nice that you say that. I appreciate it. I would have to completely argue against that assertion.
Well, here's why I'm going to say this, Billy.
Yeah. At the time, people thought I was,
at the time,
right.
Keep in mind, we're talking 1985, 1986, all the way up to 90. The bands that are coming in and out of the Lost Horizon back then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
As you see, Greg's picture behind the
our
wall.
Our manager.
Yes.
Below Zero's manager.
There you go.
AGI management.
So the bands that are coming in and out of the Lost Horizon are the bands that people are still emulating with their cover bands now.
Yeah,
you
that's
had,
true. Yeah, we did.
Skip.
I'm glad that we got to actually do it back then when it was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We were out in the clubs playing Dokken and Rat and Motley Crue tunes.
Right.
When those guys were
playing their
the
tunes.
peak of their,
Yeah.
Yep.
But you were also the
Metallica,
music that you were writing. Below Zero's music was kind of very Anthrax meets Metallica meets, well, not as much Metallica, maybe Megadeth.
It was thrash metal.
Yeah,
okay, that's what it was. A thrash metal.
And when we've had guys on here from Megadeth,
and
some of the other bands, to me, that's my era. I'm like, oh, fuck, Dave.
Right.
We're sitting here shooting a show with Dave Ellefson,
right?
And Dave's a cool freaking dude.
Yep.
Jason Bittner from Overkill. I mean, Billy could tell you how many times we'd be sitting there listening to Overkill or Anthrax or any of these.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and they were in those days. They were nice guys too.
yeah.
You know, they were good guys. Excuse me.
So the music that they were writing was right in par with that.
Sure.
You know, and the crowds that you would draw at the Lost Horizon rivaled when a national act would come through. These guys would be they packed that place.
Yeah,
so
that's true. We made good money playing nothing but originals.
Yeah, which
you
is
know, for a good, which back then, you know, that said something. I think, you know, I don't know, you know,
it's hard to find a band doing all originals now that's
Yeah.
in the mainstream.
Yeah.
The other night I saw a band.
You guys were doing it. You guys did a great job the other, week there.
The originals? Well, yeah, they're all
awesome.
couture.
Yeah.
They're all originals. You're
Yeah.
such a dick.
This is me and Jeff. We're gonna when he gets done, we gotta fuck with him and go, hey man, I really love those originals you guys were doing. I thought I was waiting to see some covers, but
I make every cover song an original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you could easily. I'm just kidding you, but we knew you would get a kick out of that. If
Yeah.
we said
Yeah.
that to you when
You're getting a
you
kick
got
out of
off,
it. Can't wait to put your booking photo right underneath you on this.
I wish I had. I don't have it anymore. Do you have it?
No, I don't have it. All I had was the one in the paper when you were getting booked.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
what
that.
you
I
have
don't
that?
article. I don't know what it
You
is.
could get it from the Herald Journal's website.
Really?
I think if you remember the
Probably
date.
fine. I do remember the date.
Yeah.
Believe me, I
how do you
remember all
not?
the dates. They're burned into my head.
Yeah.
for-
See, how would you
Forever.
not? Especially that one.
right. Yeah, that one was a traumatic experience for sure.
So getting
Funny comedy of errors.
Yeah.
yeah,
whatever.
we're not a comedy show.
No.
Yeah.
Getting back to music,
Yeah.
which in the '80s everything kind of shook hands with each other.
It did.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
When you're talking about music and you're going, yeah, it's not the 80s.
Right.
And then when people are talking about other stuff that, they shouldn't be talking about or doing nowadays, they're like, it's not the 80s. So, nothing's as good as it was than the 80s.
Yeah.
Although I guess pot's a lot better
Yeah.
than the 80s.
It is now.
Pot.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, but yeah,
I don't know.
So I hear.
I don't know anything about that stuff.
I don't do it. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't nothing.
What do you do?
You don't drink anymore either, huh? Really?
No.
I quit.
I haven't,
It's been
I
a
haven't
year.
had a drink in years.
Been over a year.
I mean,
for me.
listen, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it just it just got to a point. I was like, yeah,
Meh. Lost its luster.
yeah. Well, and I think it's dangerous for me too. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's too easy to get to that point where you're like, hey, you know what would be great right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Got $100?
Right.
I know a guy. Let's call him up.
Right.
Yeah, we all know a
Let's
guy.
keep this party going. Like, no.
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 So I just stopped. I just why tempt fate?
Right.
I'm not looking to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So when you when did you start? This is a story I don't know because you were a musician the whole time I've known you, but when did you start playing? I mean, what?
Okay, yeah. So I started playing when in elementary school. I studied. I played saxophone from like 4th or 5th grade all the way up through high school. I went to Cicero just like you did.
Yeah.
Well, you were CNS, I guess.
North
whatever,
Syracuse.
But yeah. But Cicero had it was a very demanding program. That was your life.
Yeah.
You were in band. I mean,
Yeah.
you were probably rehearsing at least 3 nights a week after school.
Mm-hmm.
You rehearsed every single day. You were expected to, essentially you would do your weekly lessons with either Codner or Topalian. Those are the 2 band guys back then. And you were expected to probably have an outside instructor too,
Mm-hmm.
So I'd started playing saxophone then. Somewhere in my middle school, I saw Kiss, right? I saw a video. I saw an advertisement on TV. Kiss was playing at the War Memorial, and they came and it was like a live picture. I'm like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that looks like fun.
This has got to be the first time.
That's what I want to do.
This has got to be the first time I've never heard anybody say anything other than the Beatles.
No, come on. Do you know how many people led with Kiss or AC/DC?
Everybody we have talked to,
No, old people.
have said, I saw the Beatles.
No.
Yeah. Well,
No.
yeah.
Watch
I mean,
the episodes.
I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, the Beatles came to America the year I was born, like literally 2 weeks after I was born.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the Beatles.
Hate
I'm
those
glad
shits.
somebody does.
Hate them.
Don't fuck it. You can't. Oh, see,
I
why
can.
would you-
I can't.
How can you fucking say that you hate?
I hate the
dude?
early Beatles. I
No.
liked kind of the
Oh
trippy
my
Beatles,
God.
maybe.
Oh my God! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Yeah, but you're old. You're
Just-
you're 10 years older than
sit,
me. I mean,
Sit. Oh, heresy!
no, it was
Arguably
Harrison.
the greatest
Wasn't it
songwriting
Harrison?
duo.
It wasn't Harrison. It's Harrison.
Yeah, George Harrison. But,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Lennon and McCartney wrote. Yeah. Anyway.
And I was not.
So
and I,
yeah, it was Kiss.
and
Kiss, I loved it. I just wanted it, so it made me start wanting to play guitar. So I think for Christmas and my dad had an acoustic that I used to, knock around on, when I was with. It was actually a nice guitar. It was a Martin, which I didn't realize at the time was, anything special, right?
Right.
But I would play it when I went to his house, and he got me my own guitar when I was in 8th grade. I got my own acoustic, and I started taking lessons from Don Bell at Gerber Music
Oh,
in
wow.
Penn Can Mall, right? Yeah, because at that time, my family, we lived in Bridgeport, and so Penn Can Mall was like, was like going to New York City for us, if you come from fucking Bridgeport, right?
Mhm.
There's a place that doesn't sell frog legs. It's at this place called Penn Can Mall. Let's go there.
Right.
Went there and studied with Don Bell for a couple of years, and just kept doing it. When I was the summer between my freshman and sophomore years in high school, I started working, and I had this part-time job. Well, it wasn't part-time; it was actually full-time that whole summer.
Yeah.
And I cut the deal with my parents. I'm like, listen, I want to go and buy an electric and an amp. And they were like, okay, that's you. If you want to do that, it's up to you. And I did. I saved every fucking check. I made like maybe $125 a week cleaning out fire restoration things. It was a commercial janitorial service. Right?
Yeah.
So my day would start by cleaning Grimaldi's restaurant on Erie Boulevard.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
would, and it's where the crew met because all the other guys were older and they had like window and floor routes, right? But we would meet to do that. And then the rest of the day, we were either doing like commercial apartment, restorations where, you'd have some tenant that moved out and now the landlord is paying us to go in and clean it up, repaint it, whatever. Or we would do these, what we call like disaster type things, like somebody had a fire. We specialized in fire, right? So it was a really dirty, filthy, shitty job. I mean, filthy.
Yeah.
And I busted my ass, made maybe $125 a week, and then on weekends, sometimes I would work at these Rod and Gun Club shows, being a, doing a pull, like what they call like a pull scorer,
Oh.
which was interesting, Sorry, I just had to sound that. And every week I would go and throw money down. I bought a brand new Les Paul, like a Black Beauty standard
Yeah.
79 Les Paul, and a Yamaha amp, solid state amp for like $825 for the two of them, brand new, right?
Wow.
And it took me the better part of the year to, because I had other things to do too. I had to buy weed and shit like that. Whatever kid did. Not all the money went towards the guitars, but most of it. So yeah, and that was it. And then, I was lucky. I mean, I went to high school with a bunch of really great guitar players. Todd Fitzsimmons, I don't know if you know him, but big blues guy, phenomenally talented guy. And I knew Todd since we were in 5th grade. And he was like extremely talented when we were in middle school, But there were other guys, Scott Wilson who is now with the Bog Brothers and a bunch of other local bands. He and his brother Norm was from the Wallmen, right? So these were all
Norm
guys
Wilson,
that,
yeah.
we hung out with, Norm Wilson, and in fact, when my family moved, we moved to Hiller Heights eventually, like when I was in right as I was starting 10th grade, moved to Hiller Heights, and Scott Wilson lived and like I could almost walk to his house. I could ride my bike to his house, So we started hanging out there quite a bit. And all these guys, Larry Vinyl, a bunch of, really good players. I would say I was definitely the, the idiot, of that group,
Right.
everybody was much more talented than I was. And then my first band I was a senior in high school. And my section leader from high school band when I was a freshman, this guy, Craig Fioramani, was a great sax player. He called me up one day. He's going, hey, he was dating a really good friend of mine, this woman, Debbie. I'm not going to use last names. I guess I probably shouldn't do that, right?
Gibson.
To protect the innocent.
Debbie Gibson.
But,
Debbie Gibson.
Yeah. but Debbie was one of my best friends, and she lived around kitty corner from me in Millerites, and she'd been dating Craig since we were freshmen, and so now we're seniors. Craig calls me up, and because I stayed in touch with him, obviously, because he was dating my best buddy, and he goes, hey, you want to play in a band with? I go, yeah, why not? And it was this like a brass, we had a brass section.
Oh wow.
We did, so we had horns. It was like an 9-piece band, keyboards, horns, drummer, one guitar. I was the one guitar player, dedicated singer, and we did things like Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Al Jarreau, Southside Johnny was a big one, right? And this is literally the spring of '82, and so we started gigging. I mean, I was gigging professionally before, before I'd even graduated. I was playing gigs, which most of the guys I knew were actually doing too. Todd, those guys were all playing, right? So we would play, Joggers Inn, Magnolia's Courtyard. I think we played The Lost a couple of times as that band, and shit like that. And a couple of the guys in that band, really went on to Tom Brigandy was the bass player. He's a local monster jazz bass guy still, and John Rohde, I don't know if you know that name, but John Rohde was a local guy, always played the Possibilities Wednesday night jams, super sweet guy, tenor sax player, because Craig, my friend, actually left the band, and then we got John in to fill in for him, right? So that was it. And that summer, we did a bunch of gigs, and it ended by perfect, welcome to being a musician kind of fucking story, right? So we, the singer spent his days, a guy named John Peacock, singer spent his days doing, or summers rather, in Scotland. He would go to this place called Block Island, which is this little resort island off the coast, the east, the New England coastline. I don't even know where the fuck it is. It took like 8 hours by boat to get there. That's all I remember, right? So he goes, hey, I booked us on this thing. We're going to go for 10 days. We got this thing. They're going to put us up in this hotel. It's going to be blah, 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 blah. You're going to make so much money. Now, I was working as a cook at Howard Johnson's at the time, trying to save money for school. I had to go away to college the next summer, right? So I'm like, man, okay, look, the way I justified this in my head, and the way I had to justify it to pretty much everybody else, meaning my parents, who are funding the college thing, were like,
right.
Listen, I'll make more money in this 10 days, than I could in like 3 weeks at Howard. I'll make way more. So it makes sense, and they were like, okay, but I don't want to know a fucking thing. If it does, whatever happens,
right,
it's on you. Right. Yep. So we get totally fucked. Like, the first night we get there, we play. It was a, complete fiasco. We had taken the wrong ferry from the wrong port. So our ferry took way longer because we got left from the wrong port, Anyway, we get there about 10 minutes before we're supposed to go on. And we'd gone down in 2 cars. The other guys were freaking out. They're like, where the fuck have you been? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we do the gig. We did. The band was really good. I will say that. The band was really good. The owner's not around. We were supposed to get a per diem, every day. Yeah. They were supposed to give us at least, $75 or something like that. So we'd have money to walk around and eat, whatever. So no money. We're like, okay, well, he'll be around the next night. So next night comes, we do the gig. No owner. Right. And the hotel, accommodations they talked about was this like 2 rooms with these little shitty fucking crab infested mattresses, I'm sure. Right. The shower was like this pipe that came out. It was like a fucking Turkish prison. I swear to God, you know what I mean? It was.
You've been in a Turkish prison too?
Man, damn.
That's what it felt like.
Damn.
So
I didn't know you were there
doing
too.
This, and we're like, John, what the fuck is the deal? And then we find out, well, I never had a contract. I mean, we did it. I know this guy. I'm like,
oh no.
So John Rohde and all the guys, the pros, because these other guys in the band were pros.
Yeah.
They were like, you didn't get a fucking contract? We came down here out of state. We're on some fucking island, like this having this massive war, it was like typical band shit, Anyway, long story short, the fourth night, the owner finally comes up. He goes, listen, I'm going to give you $700. Get the fuck out of here. I got another band coming, like basically fucked us hard. I mean, hard. Right.
Wow.
So like it was barely enough to get home. We thought because we're like, okay, well we gotta cover the rental for the PA. We got the rental for the truck. Okay, there pretty much goes the $700.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we barely, we're all digging into our personal money, what was left of it to get gas. And of course, one of the cars develops this gas leak because while we were there the first 4 nights, we thought it would be cool to take the thing on this little rocky beach ride, and which turned out being this boulder. Yeah, we were hanging out with the chicks that were, the bartenders at the club, typical, typical shit, right? We're partying with them and they're like, hey, follow us. We're going to go to this party. Anyway, just long story short. So we got totally fucked. I had to go home basically like, that didn't work out.
Can I have my job back?
Can I? Yeah. Well.
No, he had a job. It was parents.
Oh, yeah.
He had to face his parents. He had to face the job that his parents.
They were lucky to take. They were glad that because they were like, it's hard. The short order cooks. That's what it was. It's hard to get somebody in to break it in, and then everybody already hates working there. The last thing they want to do is like pick up another 8-hour shift because one of the guys left. So,
right.
So I did it, but that was a good lesson.
Sure.
Needless to say, those were the last gigs that band played. So, and then, a couple of years, I went off to college, and then, started playing. I ran into Rags. I used to run into Rags. I never knew Rags well in high school. Rags's father was the marching band's M&M. He was one of the marching maneuvers instructors. His name was Charlie. Everybody called him Chaz, Charlie. Wonderful man.
Here,
everybody loved Chaz.
Look this way.
There you go.
Yeah, you're looking at
picture. I'm going to move it so I can see you guys.
There you go.
How's that? Is that good?
Tilt it down a bit.
Tilt down just a hair.
There we go.
Boy.
Hey,
so
fucking amateurs.
So
he was worried about an hour.
When we were juniors, Chaz died of a heart attack, and it was really, really sad. And he had just moved the family there, so nobody knew. I didn't know the sisters too well. I got to know Chris real well. Chris Raganese, Steve, one of Steve's older sisters, because she was in band with us. But Rags wasn't in band. Rags wasn't. He was kind of like one of those, one of the heads, that hung out in the smoking lounge and shit like that. We acknowledge. Anyway, I would run into him.
Gateway friend.
When I was coming.
Gateway friend.
Gateway friend. Yeah.
It was way too late for that by that time already. So I would run into Rags at the bus station when I would take the bus home from college, because I went to Ithaca College, right? I'd come home and I'd run into Steve, who was working, I think as a janitor or whatever. He had a job.
I thought he was living there.
The hey, man, maybe he was.
On the bus?
No, Mike. Fuck you, Mike.
No, Bill.
I never lived in the bus garage, Mike, you fucker.
God bless him.
I love Rag.
I'll tell you what, I know. I said this, I go, even though we are like so opposite people, but back in those days, we were like thick as thieves. I hung out, and I always say to him, I go, you know what? I'm really glad that I hung out with you all the time in my crazy 20s, because he really made it
fun.
Way more interesting.
Oh,
way fucking more. Oh,
so
you know what I mean?
Like,
yeah, I can't imagine having gone through that period of time without him. I mean, I can. Probably, yeah.
Probably wouldn't have had that article in the paper.
Yeah, probably a lot of things that wouldn't have happened.
There you go.
Anyway, but I ran into him, and so we would, talk once in a while. Anyway, I ran into him at something end of summer of '84. And he's going, "Hey, me and my brother are putting this band together, And so we started. I packed up all my gear. Went to. By that time, I'd left college because I had a spectacular fucking disaster of a freshman year. Because I went for business administration, and I would have rather fucking put a gun in my head, than done that anymore, and so dropped out, came back home, fucked off for like a year, back at Howard Johnson's trying to like figure out life, and then got hired at Chrysler, New Process Gear, which solved lots of problems, created a few new ones, but financially it was like wow, like all of a sudden, you go from being broke ass, to nothing, like to wow, I'm knocking down like serious bucks.
I can buy a lot of guitars now.
Right.
I can buy a lot of guitars, and I did.
He did.
So anyway, so we move all my shit into Albinos. We start rehearsing, and that was this band called Menace or Triple X. I can't remember what the fuck it was. Fast forward a little bit later, we kicked Chuck out for time number one, which wasn't my call. We had this guitar player, Chris May, who hated him, and by that time we were all good buddies with like the guys in Mayhem. Mayhem was, I would say at that time, was probably, they were like that was the band everybody wanted. They were the band to beat.
Yeah.
Or the local band that you would say, and they were so good. Joe Fuco was just a fucking monster drummer.
Bertali on guitar.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be, and they just had it all going on.
Yeah.
So it seemed, but back then, right? And oddly enough, it was like, that scene was largely ignored in that period of time by the mainstream local music community, right? Because you got to say, like, the same thing. What was also happening is you'd have, like Alex Starr, The Works,
805,
805, right? All of those guys playing, regularly, right? And a whole bunch of others, Holly and the New Yorkers, whatever. I can kind of remember, a lot of them. And I should say I started working part-time at the Bebop shop late 84, right? Because Terry, this is where I would take all my gear. Terry one day was like, hey, my wife's going to have a baby. She's not going to be able to work. We got the holidays coming up. Would you consider working here part-time? I'm like, fuck yeah, that'd be awesome. So, my life, was like, basically, I'd get out of work at 7:00 in the morning from New Process. I'd go home and sleep till about 1, get up, go into the Bebop shop till 7, get out of the Bebop shop and go directly to rehearsal up till 10, and then leave from rehearsal to go back to New Process gear. That was like what I did like 5-6 days a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then on the weekend, we were gigging and or partying and, just having a great time, Anyway, that flamed out, and then that led to, I did a thing with Pete Walker. I meet Pete Walker, becomes a key player in life, and Al Lockland in this band called Blitzkrieg. And Pete, loved Pete to death. I mean, became one of my best, closest friends for many, many years. As much as like sometimes we probably wanted to beat each other's ass, but Pete was like one of those guys that really knew how to make shit happen. I mean, he really, he didn't fuck around. Like he was driven, and I really respected that in him.
Musically, he's still the same way. I mean, he's still.
Oh yeah, he's a great writer, the absolute best guitar tone guy. Period. Hands fucking down, in this town ever. And I don't care what, I mean, Pete will make your shit sound better just by him getting near it. That's what I've always said. But he had like the most beautiful guitar tones. Like he went through this period in like Blitzkrieg where it was just like this old like Accept kind of, that early Accept, that Euro metal, fucking just that gorgeous Marshall, fucking monstrous tone. Pete had that down, and he went on. He was able to do a lot of other things, chilled out. But so I did a couple of gigs, I think, with Blitzkrieg. But Rags was kind of like, well, we got to do our thing, and I was a loyal friend, so we did, and then we put Below Zero together, and then that led to, where are we on time?
Keep going.
Keep going. You were worried about an hour.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like
I know you're right. It does go by quick.
20 minutes got us through Howard Johnson's.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is we do have a series of questions, but you just keep going.
Keep going.
I just was giving you the history, right? So, because then Below Zero, that was probably the thing that led to, the most local, I guess, success, if you will.
Yeah. Well, Below Zero is when you recorded at Pyramid Studios, right? Right. And who?
Yeah, because we were a thrash band.
Yeah.
And we were all, we started off playing covers by, Overkill, Anthrax, all that, all those guys. But we were also writing our own shit because that was something I learned from Pete. Pete was like, Pete would always go, dude, man, if you're not fucking writing your own shit, you're just beating your fucking meat, man. Who needs to be a fucking cover band? It's not going to get you anywhere. He would say that, like, but that's exactly how he would talk.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I just had a conversation with Pete last week.
Yeah.
Midnight phone call.
Yep.
Yeah, lasted like an hour.
But he was right.
Minutes.
He's like, who cares? Like you got to stop worrying about being so,
mainstream.
Worried about what the people like. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And he was right. So anyway, yeah, we were doing that, and then so we were very aware of Pyramid because all of those old Megaforce records were all recorded at Pyramid Sound. And so when it came time, Greg was like, look, I need a demo. So Greg, we start playing at the Lost. Greg decides he wants to manage us, which essentially was like, I want to say was short for, hey, you'll still be able to play the same gigs that you do now.
But now you got to pay me.
But you'll be paying me another 20%.
Right.
You weren't paying me before. How's that work out?
Thanks.
Like, awesome. I mean, I'm kidding, but that was kind of like, but he did, front money for things like T-shirts and shit like that, so whatever. And Greg was an awesome guy. Except for when he was throwing us out because he would get pissed. Long stories there, but anyway, so we were like, we need a demo. We got to do a demo. And I'm like, well, let's call fucking Pyramid Sound. I mean, shit, they're right down the road. It's in Ithaca. It's not that far away.
Right.
I mean, what can hurt? Like, yeah, here's what it costs. And it was like $700 a day to block out an entire day back then at Pyramid Sound with Alex Perriellis and Rob Hunter was $700 fucking dollars. Right. And we were like, that's a lot of money. I don't have it.
Right.
I'm going to have to make a few trips to New York, and before we can do that, I think, okay, we'll come up with it, right?
Yeah,
and we had another money guy too. Remember Dave, Mike? I don't know if you remember Dave, Liverpool Dave. Yeah. Billy Slattery's buddy, right?
Yeah.
So Dave was like, "Don't worry, I'll spot you the money." And I'm like, "Okay." So we do the recording, we do 4 tunes. We were going to do 5 originally, but we chopped the last one because we would have had to have bought another roll of 2-inch tape for $400. And we're like, yeah, no, I don't think we can. Whatever it was, I'm not sure it was 400, but it was a lot of money, And so we did those 4 tunes, and then Alex gives us a rough mix. We take that home. We're playing it. Everybody's excited. We're all excited. We're doing we're opening for Lita Ford. Doing all this other shit. Everything's moving. In the right way. And the money guy just disappeared. So now
it's called jail. Bill.
You know who they fucking call. They're calling me because I was the guy that, originally set everything up. Alex Perriellis is the secretary, which is Rob Hunter's wife. Has no record of anybody else in the band or some money guy. It's Bill Hatch. Hey, Bill Hatch, where's our $2,800? You know what I mean? So I'm like, fuck, and it just so happened I'd actually gotten into an accident with my car and the Laser, right? I get the insurance money. I'm like,
what is it called? What kind of car was it?
Okay, Dick.
It was a Chrysler Laser. Yeah. I couldn't picture the vehicle. Fix your camera. Gotta put the camera.
Wow.
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't go there. I didn't go there.
Stop. So anyway, I just took all the money, and I think I can't remember, but basically it got me close enough, and it was bad because we felt bad. Alex was calling up and yelling at me, and I was like, yeah, this is what we need. We need to piss off a guy like him who could be an ally, who was very positive for the band, but it was a great experience because it was right after Overkill had done Under the Influence. And in between that and Surfing MOD. So Billy Milano was in the studio with us. He was in the other room, and he would come out and hang out with us, shoot the shit. Billy Milano being from SOD and MOD, right, for anybody that doesn't know, and he was like, oh man, he goes, yeah, you guys will get hooked up. Yeah, don't worry about it, right? Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, Alex was like, yeah, well, listen, I'll send it to John, John Zazula, Johnny Z, see what he says. And we also had another guy that was very interested, who was the original manager of the Masters of Reality. This guy, Steve, I can't remember his last name, but I want to say he was Terry Vickery's brother-in-law too, right? Terry Vickery actually was the guy that said, yeah, he goes, he knows you guys rehearse, because we rehearsed down the hall from the Masters, right, at Albino's, and those guys were, amazing. Like we were like, whoa, they were fucking like Jesus Christ, I mean, to this day, I would say, Tim is probably, is the man.
Not
you
to
know what I mean?
not to stop you, but the Masters Reality
Yeah.
new album after 15 years from the last one.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
It just dropped 3 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I listened to it.
Haven't listened to it yet. No.
How
was it?
It's if you're a true Masters fan,
Right.
you know that there is no path to their music, but the album takes a life of itself. So if you listen to the whole thing, you can kind of in your mind follow their little story. There's no specific genre.
I'm just struck by Mike getting all deep. I'm like,
Right.
wow, did he really? What's he gonna do next? Drop some fucking literary reference? Are you fucking shitting
no,
me?
no.
Now, according to the Gregorian,
Here we go.
according to the Gregorian
See what
theory,
you did?
In music theory, Gregorian is
If Kafka. Anyway, so.
Page
Yeah,
786 of War and Peace states.
Yeah, right. So, no, I mean, but the original Masters, I mean, it was just a phenomenal.
I've been trying so hard
They
to
were
get
heroes
Chris.
of ours.
I want Chris on
Goss.
here. Yes.
Yeah.
Good luck. I hear he's hard to find.
It's hard to, dude. I'm telling you, I'm watching Sons of Anarchy a couple months ago, and the song comes on. I'm like, that's Chris Goss. He had such a distinct voice.
Yeah.
You could, and
you know what? I remember Chris Goss used to be a fucking DJ at RJ O'Toole's, the RJ O'Toole's in North Syracuse.
Yes,
right?
the Airport Plaza.
And that wasn't one of my normal hangs. I was kind of dating one of the bartenders there for a while.
All leads back to his wiener.
Way early on, right?
How?
So I would go in anyway. Everybody, we're talking to him. And he's like, listen, he goes, I'll play whatever the fuck you want. He goes, give me a Stolies and you name it, I'll play it. We would get him to play like the heaviest shit, like, and just deck it, right? And you can imagine like the typical yuppie crowd that was at RJ O'Toole's was like, what's going on?
This isn't Sade.
Like,
Right.
Play balls to the wall. How about Motorhead? You got anything? We're like jamming this shit. So, and I remember he and Tim would come into the bebop shop when I worked there too. And he was trying to buy a new amp, and Tim was like, dude, you got to get a Marshall. And then Chris was like really looking at remember how we sold Dean Markley's? I don't know if you remember that, Jeff. Dean Markley amps.
Yep.
So, Terry and Mick are really trying to convince them. And it was, anyway, they were good people. And that band was just phenomenal. I mean, they just really were phenomenal. So, Steve is like, yeah. He goes, they were already had their deal, with Deaf American. Rick Rubin, produced that record, right? So that led to, hey, we're angling to do this, like a spec deal. You know what I mean? Keep writing tunes and shit. And then bad things happened for me personally, and basically the band died, right there, and it basically became, Marilyn's Chambers. Eric, Pete, and Frankie, went on to do Maryland Chambers, and I went on to.
Well, you weren't playing bars.
Yeah, I was.
You were just behind him.
Oh, you took it.
No, I was way late. That was way. No. I moved to New York.
Yes.
A year later.
Yeah.
So right.
Well,
thinking like, hey, this will be good. New York is the kind of perfect town for a person like me.
No.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, but he says New York. Yeah. Let's paint let's make it a little darker shade of black.
Yeah.
He was in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, see, yeah.
He was in Canarsie. So it wasn't like he was. I was living in my suite in uptown Manhattan. So
right.
The doorman and I got to be good friends. No.
Right.
But we had a lot of fun. And then, I guess after that, it's just been like a couple of cover bands here and there, to the point where I realized, I'm like, you know what? I really don't like playing covers, and I'm just not going to do it ever again. Ever.
Oh, you liar.
I'm just not.
He did it the one night for me. He did me a favor.
I tried to do it. And I'm sorry that was so bad on my part. But like the thing is, I realized I'm like, I'm just not a professional musician because I just can't play shit that I'm not into anymore. I can't do it.
Right.
And most of that stuff I have like a real giant hatred for. Like I feel like if you listen, like if I could play what I like listening to every day, I would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's
So would
shit that would get like
So would
five
I.
people.
yeah,
Five people
so would
show up
every
every day,
musician
Right
that
here.
plays. I mean,
right.
Yeah,
let's face it, we're not, but we're not there.
I mean,
for
you.
us.
I mean, you know my rule on
Covers.
I hate fucking.
On what?
It's not on cover.
He hates the mainstream covers that
I'm
everybody likes.
so tired
Oh,
of.
yeah.
I'm so tired of your Enter Sandmans, your Alice in
Just a
Chains.
small town girl.
Shut up.
That can go to.
Oh yeah, totally go.
I like that song.
All of it can totally go.
But if we got up and played
And
the
it's
B
cool.
side of a
Listen,
Cheap Trick album, I would love it. But nobody would.
Yeah,
Everybody would be like, "Pfft."
Right.
And I want to be clear on this too. This is not a slam against anybody that does it. I have enormous respect for the cover people that can do it, because
Right.
I recognize I'm like, I cannot. I don't want to, and I can't do it. You know, it started. I did like this like a modern country gig like about 10, 12 years ago. Brickyard, it was me and Dave King and Kim Fetters, a bunch of really good players. I love the band, love the people in it. I played the tunes. I felt dirty. I felt like, God, I'm being such a whore. I'm such a whore, you know. And I said, I didn't like.
Yeah, but weren't you?
You know, but that's what you are, right? I mean, essentially, you're going to do that. You're not, you know, like that's the thing. You're in the entertainment industry, you know. Like,
Yeah, but
listen, I would rather do a jazz gig, obscure covers, or old blues shit, or punk, rock and roll, rockabilly, like nobody would ever come to that. But I think like there's probably a way to make it happen, and this is my biggest criticism of the local bands, is that they're just not imaginative enough. If you look at any of the most successful bands that have happened in the last, let's say 30 years, let's go back, no, fuck that, we'll go back 40 years, right?
oh boy,
You've got Atlas Linen Company.
Yep.
Probably right at the top of that food chain, if not real close to it. And they're really more musical. Just people like, the ones that are very professional. They're very, polished or whatever. But you had things like Little Georgie and the Shuffling Hungarians, right?
yep.
You had things like the Electric Chick Magnets.
I remember that.
The United Booty Foundation.
Yep.
Right. These are all things, right? That's like, they know how to put this thing together and sell it, right?
It's a show.
It's a show.
You're making it right.
It's not a gig. It's a show.
It's not a gig. It's not five guys showing up in jeans
and a baseball
t-shirt.
cap. Right.
So they're gonna or the standard do rag, the cutoff shirt.
Yeah.
I got some tattoos.
Go
like a
fuck
biker
yourself.
guy.
So what?
I knew that was coming.
Right.
I knew the biker guy thing was coming.
No, but I mean that's what that's what they're trying to emulate.
Right.
That I'm not slamming the bike. I'm just saying that's what they're trying to do. It's like. And it's just kind of like, whatever. I mean, some people like that, but those same people, when 40 people come see him play at Rockies, are going to bitch about only 40 people came to see us. Well, hey, fuckface, here's why. Okay. Put a goddamn show on.
Yeah.
So, don't fucking bitch about it. That's my thing. And I'm not saying you, Mike. I mean, obviously you're great. I love your band.
See, my other
43 people, by the way.
Look, that
Listen.
looks good on you, though.
Right. My other thing is too is like these cover bands come out and they go, "Oh, we're going to be different." Then stop playing the same fucking set that the last band just did.
Well, hang on. Now I'm gonna
I'll do it.
I'm gonna be the
You know what I'm
voice.
saying?
I'm gonna be the.
Of
and I'll
course
just
you are.
Turn your shit right off.
Yeah, because you play in one of those bands.
But here, no. Let me just say this. Let me say this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Does anybody know the number for 911?
Wow, you're gonna fucking.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So listen,
you're on dangerous ground right now, Mister.
listen, fella. When we're playing those shows, if I go to hear any of the other cover bands,
Yeah.
okay, and you and I have done this, you take a mental note and you watch the room, and you read, and it's the same 40 songs that they just, but they go out every week to hear those 40 songs. You don't have the music to us is a different thing. It's a way of life.
Right.
And
well, yeah, I mean, you're selling nostalgia, right?
Yes.
All of these bands.
Yeah.
Right.
You're at the point where, I mean, let's face it, the people are going to say, we're all in our 50s at least.
I remember dancing this song and my hip didn't hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't want, most of those people that go out to see you guys, that's what they want.
They want the nostalgia.
That's well and good.
Right.
That's well and good. But there is a whole nother world out there.
There is.
Sure there is.
And it's a pretty good sized one, that you can tap into if you're a little bit imaginative. I think the thing is, we are also in that demographic. We're in the same demographic
as the people coming
that we're playing to.
Yes.
So we understand, you get it, right? You get it. Now, whatever they want to go out and hear the Journey song. All of them want to go back to 1985. That's what they're there for.
But that's great. You can turn on the fucking radio and hear it anytime.
I had hair. I had a Camaro.
Right.
I had a good job. I was getting laid on the weekends. Life was awesome. That's but that's what it was.
And
right?
like I said, you can hear that shit on the radio. Turn it on.
No, you can't, unless you're in an elevator. But
no, you turn on your cousin's station.
Yeah. I know. Well, yes. Yes.
Turn on your cousin's station, and it's like, again.
But see,
I haven't listened to the radio in 5 years.
The stuff I listen to in my car.
Oh.
And the stuff Bill listens to and you listen to is completely different than what we're playing. Because the people that still have that nostalgia. When I first started listening to Motley Crue, nobody liked Motley Crue. When I first started listening to Twisted Sister, Under the Blade and stuff, nobody liked Twisted Sister.
Right.
The reason we started listening to stuff like Anthrax, Overkill, Megadeth, even go back Saxton, Anvil. Yeah. These are bands that, it's because they were different. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of music we listen to. But to appease everybody, you're not going to get someone to come and sit 2 hours or 3 hours playing Saxton, Anvil, Overkill, Megadeth. You're not going to hear.
Well, it'll be a sausage factory. I can fucking
exactly
that.
Right, and that's not what the bar wants.
Wearing leather. That's who's going to come out and see it.
Exactly,
and
and it's like, and then as soon as you take your break, they're like, let's go to that bar that's playing Journey songs because that's where all the chicks are.
Right.
So you make a decision. Do you want to play what you want and only play to like-minded individuals who are 50-year-old men that are probably divorced that aren't going to stick around? Or do you want to play to even the nostalgic women that come out to see you? Or the younger ones that are they grew up in the back seat listening to Small Town Girl. Yeah. They listen to Eddie Money. They listen to John Cougar Mellencamp. And dude, do you know how many even to the point now it's like, oh fuck, Bon Jovi. There's a Bon Jovi song I want to sing, but
you're right.
You ask, hey, what song do you want to hear? Do you need Bon Jovi? What Bon Jovi? I want to hear Dead or Alive.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, God, not this one again.
I know.
But you do it. And don't stop believing. You do it.
I don't
and you're not going to play Open Arms. You're not going to play Open Arms at a rock show because no one's going to break into a slow dance.
There should be no slow dancing or no slow ballads at any show. I don't care what. Don't do it.
Home Sweet Home is not a slow ballad.
It's ballad enough.
That's for Mom. We do that.
Well, I know, and I get that.
It's a total ballad.
We do that for Mom.
See?
We do it for Mom. Shut up.
I wonder how long it took Tommy Lee to write that.
Well,
Yeah.
Like, I always wondered that. Well, just because he's not a piano, like he sat down and wrote it. Like, it's not a hard riff or whatever. I'm just saying because it was a piano. I always wondered how he came about that.
Well, let's call him up.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Mike, you got his number, don't you?
Let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Let's
Bill,
not.
Mike, Jeff, who? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a question. What's the funniest fucking thing? A short version. What's the funniest fucking thing that ever happened on stage? Like fuck up for you?
Okay.
Short version, though. We don't.
Yeah. Well, there's been
25 minutes on Howard Johnson, so we don't have that kind of time.
Yeah. Come on, it wasn't 25 minutes, man. Start. Howard Johnson's the most rock and roll job you can have now.
Funniest thing on stage. And
go. Anyway, yeah. There was I don't know if it was funny. It was funny to me.
That's what we need.
Is
really.
this a Bill Hatch yelling at you, yelling at somebody moment?
No. It was a rags. It involved rags.
Yeah.
There was this girl.
And there you go.
And she was
Go
literally
figure.
spitting at Steve. She was spitting on him, right? And she kept doing it. And so finally, he's like, "Yo, the fuck." You put
the spotlight on her.
It happen, like laughing because I could see he's getting more and more pissed off, right? Like he's getting more and more annoyed, and finally he stops the show. And he's like, "Yo, get this fucking bitch the fuck," he makes this whole big scene, like oh god, like you got here's the LSD is emerging,
No, Mike, I'm gonna fucking spit on the bitch.
LSD meaning lead singer disease.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah. We all know.
So but I guess it would be like kind of annoying too. I don't know. I'm trying to think. That was probably,
I mean, half of our stories we can't say on here.
Really.
I mean, well,
really, why?
There's a lot. We have a lot of funny.
Right. Well, there's lots of great stories about what happened after the show.
Yes.
Or even before the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Can't really, but
Mark Van Marter's car. Pete and Granny. Pete and Granny. Oh,
this shit.
That's a classic story.
Yes, it is. Can't tell it though. I mean,
can't tell it.
No,
it's just not fit for. That is a XXX.
That is,
and then some kind of.
If anybody wants to hear that story,
give them a call.
Call us up. Yeah. And we'll get Bill back on here. We'll do a private.
Wow. Yeah, that was.
Wait. Stop.
I was there for the aftermath.
Stop.
I was not.
I'm just going to say this about that story. The better part of that story came 24 or 48 hours later. When Mark picked up his car from the lost.
Oh no! It was later that night.
No,
it was later that.
No,
it was no.
Dude, I was in Phoenix when he rode home.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes,
incorrect.
when he drove it home,
he had to drive it home from the gig
the next day.
When he got home, he fucking left. No, that night later on left. By the time me and Pete got back to Pete's house, Mark had already left a message on his answering machine. It's like, Pete. Motherfucker! What the fuck did you do to my blah blah blah? It was the same night.
But he didn't bring the car home. He left it. He left it in the parking lot. He got a ride home with Granny or somebody.
Well, maybe afterward. Yeah.
And then because I was at his house in Phoenix, and he came rolling in,
pissed,
driving with his head out the window, and he got the hose, and he's just hosing the inside of his car, dashboard seats. So, anyways,
yeah. That was an unfortunate incident for somebody or a group of people.
What was
me?
What was the biggest show you ever did? Most people.
Well, I don't know. The Lita Ford one there was a lot of people at that gig, But I mean, I don't know. I think we did in the country band we did a thing out at the paper mill, that had a decent sized crowd,
Mm-hmm.
Like it was an all-day country thing, So there's no doubt that shit draws way more than rock and roll does these days.
Yeah, I know.
No lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What else? What else?
I was a part of something like that, Bill, so I understand.
There was the Bullet Boys. A couple of gigs in Rochester had like really good turnouts too. Like at Rochester, we used to love playing Rochester because the local community there was,
None of the girls knew him yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but they were much more. I mean, it was much more run. Like it was much more tight. The local scene was managed way better by the locals, right? There was much more attention paid, a lot more cooperation across the board with all the various, between the venues, the bands, this, there's frankly, Rochester's got way more money than Syracuse too. So, but we would play it like, the Penny Arcade or Backstreets or whatever, those, you would get like, and we were like a Syracuse band, we weren't like Immaculate Mary, who was like I think they were the big Rochester band.
Icewater Mansion.
Well, Icewater Mansion I think they were out of Geneva, close enough, but from what I remember them too because Robbie
played with
them.
Drums.
Yeah, Robbie played
Bongwater Outhouse.
As Bon Jovi called them, right? Yeah, Bon Jovi called them Bongwater Outhouse when we were opening for him or whatever. It's kind of mean, but they were a good band.
Funny as hell.
But I think Immaculate Mary was, to me, they were like there was a bunch of great bands out of Rochester, and Tommy Burnett, I think his name was Tommy Burnett. He was the guitar player, and he also worked at House of Guitars, and nicest guy, like just a monster player. And he would come, we would do gigs with him. He's like, dude, he goes, you should come study with me. He goes, because you're like, all you need is like, you just need like a little more, and you
polish.
would be there. It was very encouraging.
He tells Torah that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he would say that.
And that's what we tell.
Probably said that to everybody.
We say that to Torah.
That's how you get people to come fucking study with you.
Right.
Yeah. You're paying me $50 an hour now, right?
Okay.
Now, so anyway, but oddly enough, he now, what's that? What Iron Smoke or Iron? There's a distillery in Fairport. It's also I want to say it's Iron Smoke.
I think you're right, Bill. I think you're right.
Iron Smoke Distillery. That's his place, and he has. I've seen all these advertisements with like some of the best guitar players in the world.
Yeah.
Al Di Meola, but hanging out there, playing gigs, and I'm going. It's probably because he had to have known all those people through House of Guitars originally, because back then House of Guitars was like, probably the preeminent music store, in the country for sure.
You and I talked about him when you were like, that's somebody you should get on your show. I think you and I talked about him.
You should get the guys from House of Guitars on the show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Or him too.
Yeah.
Armin and Bruce.
Man.
Yeah. Fuck.
That's legendary.
Especially when you went downstairs and you were walking over
sheet music
and DVD
the
or
most
CDs.
Albums just thrown into the bins, T-shirts.
It didn't matter.
That's the vibe, though.
Yes.
Yeah, just like, well, I don't know. I think it was always impressive when you would walk through the racks of guitars on the first floor.
They were all signed.
Yeah.
It just looks. There's just like, oh yeah, here's a whole thing of like 50 Les Pauls, gorgeous guitars, just kind of thrown in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? You're like.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to go. I remember Joe Bertali and I think Pete, a bunch of us, we would take road trips, to go to House of Guitars and buy, things like pickups and, necks or, this is, whatever.
A pick.
Yeah. But they were always good. I bought a ton of gear there over the years.
Go there for a T-shirt.
Yeah.
It doesn't take, it would take a lot for them to remember a significant purchase, because I'm sure they've gotten.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you want to spend $50,000? Okay, well,
hang on.
Here,
I'll be with you in a minute.
Tracy will help you out with that. That's good. These guys are going to do a nice little thing.
Little baby purchase.
Little baby purchase.
I'm going to go over here. We got someone coming in for $1 million.
Right.
Right.
I'll sell this. You take care of the 50 G's.
Yeah. Right.
So you built this elaborate studio in your house.
That's not elaborate. I mean, I wouldn't say it's elaborate. It's functional,
What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to play with it.
The studio.
Do what I do with it.
There you go.
You're going to play with the studio.
Yes.
But you're going to bring people in. You're going to.
I will. Friends like
sit
like
there
I
with
said,
your pretty shirt.
But I told you this. I know you want me to go on record this, just because what you're really trying to do is get me to do other shit. Hey, by the way, where was you never did the intro bump from J-Ro that J-Ro wrote for you. At least I didn't hear it.
We just played it.
Hey, did you?
Yeah.
That's not his.
Yeah, it was.
No, it's not.
That's not his?
No.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
Oh, I thought J-Ro.
J-Ro wrote the one
on
the last podcast.
You wrote this one, Jeff?
No.
He couldn't.
Why
no,
not?
J-Ro did another one.
Did we have it on here?
I don't know if it's on there.
Hang on.
But I know he did another one.
Well, Mike had asked me to do something
I know he did.
It was right while I was in this chaos of the house being torn apart. I'm like, dude, I don't know if if you ever lived through that, right? Like it was like 2 years of constant chaos. It's like mentally was just a mind fuck,
Yeah.
Like I can't focus on anything else.
Well,
right
good.
Now this is done.
You hear what we use. Now write something, and we'll use it.
I have not heard what you.
If you listen to,
do you know why?
You listen to the show.
You think you put it on? You do it post production. You add all this stuff.
No, we do it. Yeah, you didn't hear it just now
right?
Because the channels, you share the channel, but
Sure.
if you watched any of our episodes in the last,
I did.
He has.
that's the third season or
I
something.
know, but that's
This
why I
one?
thought like
Third-
you would do
third
it
season.
now. You know?
Third season, third year we've had these.
I know. You
100
guys are cranking.
I forget 116 episodes.
Yeah,
And you
Right.
never listened to the. Yeah.
I have. Listen, I've told you that.
he did.
That
Remember?
time-
we
that time
talked
with
too
the guy
much in the
talking about
beginning.
his band
Talking
was
about the
best.
band, yeah.
I love that guy. Yeah.
Oh,
What's your funniest? Can you tell?
do
the
you have
story.
one?
Tell what's your funniest Mike story?
Oh, fuck you. Anyway, okay.
No, tell this one.
This is the classic that I tell all my friends because
We are such good friends.
I was out on a date with this woman who I absolutely was falling in love with, adored her.
And then Mike took her.
And,
He had to
and
get
I
her
was
home
with-
early. School.
and I was with
Oh.
High
I was
school
with
next
my
day.
Oof.
okay. I'll go.
Oof.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just didn't want to interrupt. Yeah. And my friend, one of my really good friends, this girl Chris, it was her birthday, and so her and her guy and me and this new girl, who I was head over heels for, we're at Possibilities downtown, right? And we come out after dinner, and back in those days, it was, remember, Possibilities is right across the street from where, the old classic Steinleins Rhythm Palace was, right? And now it's like one of those, douchebag joints, for lack of a better term. Right?
Was it
It's,
the Penny
Benjamin's
Pub or whatever?
No, it was back then. It wasn't Stylines.
No, I think it was.
It was
I think it was
Illusions.
the same. It was something,
Yeah.
It's like, not a place I want to go hang out at. It's like, whatever. Yeah. Night at the Rocks. Night at the Roxbury kind of bullshit, right? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, anyway, Mike is standing on this. There's a pole there or something. It was whatever. He's just standing there smoking a cigarette. Nobody's around him. He's not doing anything, right? And I'm yelling to him, and he can't hear me. It's not, I'm going. I go, what the? I go, hold on. Okay. So I call him.
Wait a minute.
I'll call him.
Don't you describe it to your friends as, there's my.
Oh yeah, I go, this is one of my best friends right there. Hold on. I say, you can't hear me. I will call him because there's cars. It's like a Friday night. It's busy. You know what I mean? So, there was a lot of activity in the square back then.
Yeah.
I love this story.
So I call him on the phone. Now, remind you, everyone's watching this, right? I go, let me get him. Oh, he's a riot. Yeah, he's a good friend. Best. We're like this, He's sitting there having a cigarette, right? It's the phone. Phone starts ringing. He goes like this. Yeah. Well, puts it right back in his pocket. Fucking blows me up. Not talking to anybody. Not doing a fucking thing. Like there's no reason he couldn't have taken the call.
What
and
an
I'm
ass.
Like, and everybody just erupted and laughed. They're like, "Wow, I guess you guys are really tight, huh? You guys are." I'm like, that motherfucker.
But that's what got me to look up as I hear this crowd laughing from across the street, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What fun shit's going on over there that's more important than Phil?
He looks over, sees me, and then he's like,
Hey!
that was funny. That was funny.
I was like, was that you? Was that you?
There have been many. We definitely have no shortage of very funny stories.
No.
and interesting stories for
Right.
sure.
More interesting
No
to us.
Yeah. Cautionary tales. Remember
So-
John Street? When you first moved into John Street, and then but that whole era,
Don't you dare.
that whole era of time was just like, oh God, crazy days.
I was telling this story the other day.
Wait, no. What about the time? This one was great. You and
Here we
Donna.
go.
Well, it's a
Hold on.
Marriott.
Yeah, the Marriott for Sunday brunch. Right. So Don and I somehow got our hands on some acid. We're tripping.
Mushrooms.
all night.
You're on mushrooms.
Mike on mushrooms. Mike comes home because we were roommates at the time, right? Me and Donna just started dating, right? Or hanging out, whatever. And we talk him into like, come on, man, just hang out with us, right? We're like, because we're not going to bed. You can't go to sleep. That's not happening, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't. Literally, you're not capable of sleeping.
I was
You're
working
doing
11
that
at
shit, right?
night to 7 in
Yeah.
the morning as an operator at
Right.
AT&T at the time.
Okay.
At
All
AT&T,
right.
right?
Yeah.
I was laid off from Chrysler.
Still getting
And
more
basically
paid more money
take-
than he was when he was.
Yeah, taking advantage of every minute of it. Like,
Yeah.
So it's a Sunday morning, right? And we're like, eventually we start getting hungry. We're like, hey, you know what? let's go.
Buffet.
We'll go to the Sunday brunch at the Marriott over on Carrier Circle, right? We're like, yeah, okay, this all sounds like a great idea. Right?
Until
Going there and out, remember back in then, right? I'm playing a band, like I got like,
we all had had hair.
Yeah.
And highlights.
We looked total rock and roll. Like,
and it was the glam days, so I had bracelet, curly sunglasses.
We go in there. We literally walk in the door of the Marriott. We get to the dining room. We look in, and we see nothing but like
families,
suits, and church, and
all that.
People go. We're like, there's no fucking way we're going. I am not. We can't go in. I can't. That was it. We just turned around and we were laughing
so hard
hysterically because everybody was looking like, who are these?
They looked over like, who are they supposed to be?
Right?
Yeah.
They're the entertainment.
We ended up going to like, we blew that up. We're like, okay, which was almost as bad, but finally we were like, fuck it. We have to eat something. We went to like Sambo's. No place like Sam's or Sambo's. Remember? It's now the Italian place on Route 11.
No.
The basil, yeah.
Is that where
it's where the?
I thought we went to D's.
No, we didn't. No.
See Angel.
D's was another. Oh God, remember that night?
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways,
that was another place. Anyway, yeah, okay.
So Billy and I have had a lot of.
There you go.
But back in the day when we were young, we looked like all the other idiots that. When you were a musician back then, you always.
I look good. I look good.
Well, because
I get it.
He had the fucking big Bon Jovi hair, and he had the long. That was the long denim duster.
Those are my early 20 days.
Yeah, and Donna's looking at me, and
all downhill after that. Boom.
I remember walking in that day. I had all the bracelets, and I had the sunglasses, and I was hanging out with like Robbie and those guys in the day. And Donna just looks up, and she goes, God, you look so gay. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, everybody we know dresses like this. And she just starts, she goes, those bracelets, oh my God.
That's probably why her hair caught on fire shortly after that time, right? Yeah. We're not gonna, that's all we're going to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember the hair went,
yeah.
Okay.
So,
anyway.
Yep.
What the hell's wrong?
This episode was more for me and Bill than any of you listening. No, dude, you don't understand.
Oh God, jeez.
So
many fun times.
I can't drive.
Until it wasn't fun. It was fun until it wasn't.
I can't drive.
There you go.
Bill, I can't drive right now. I just can't drive. No,
that's not happening.
No, you're
crazy.
I can't drive right now, Bill. Somebody's got to get cigarettes. It's not going to be me.
That's right. Like that awful feeling at like 9-10 in the morning when you're like, okay, somebody has to go to the store to get more beer and more cigarettes.
Yeah, because now you're smoking filters.
I shouldn't even be around car keys, let alone a car. So we were all willing to buy if somebody else was willing to buy.
Oh yeah, dude, I'll give you $40 to go to the store and buy me a pack of cigarettes right now.
Dude, I will pay your rent next month. I don't care.
We got a lot of stuff philosophically. We solved all the world's problems at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
and
several times.
And the deepest thinker, he's busting my balls, was this idiot here.
But the thing is, we would like. Back in those days, right? Everybody would get done. We'd all either rendezvous at Albino's, or possibly the Lost if you got done early enough.
Right,
you could catch the Lost for last call. And there was a group of us.
Stayed there before.
We were like the vampires. I mean, literally, we were like fucking vampires for like 2 years.
Yep.
We were out every single night.
Never slept.
Never slept. Well, I mean, I don't think I saw the sun for. For a good chunk of time.
Those bats are chirping. What is?
Right.
Wrong bird.
The moon is very bright today.
Yeah. Oh God, those days were crazy.
Yeah. But now, when we get done with a gig,
no, you want to go home.
No. Well, first of all, you played from 9 till 2.
Yeah, back then.
Back then, you played from 9 to 2. Now, I just booked a gig for 2 weeks from now. 2 hours. It's a 2-hour gig.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'll pay you this much.
And thank God.
And I'm like,
it's a happy hour gig, 5 to 7,
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
just as good.
I'm like,
right?
so wait
you're
a minute.
Home by 10. You're home by 10.
My
It's
shit's
perfect.
in the car, and I can be
Right.
at
You
can be
Taco Bell's
gone.
drive-through at normal hours. This is
Right.
freaking
Right.
awesome.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't play till 2. Nobody plays till 2. I don't even bars are open till 2.
No.
Or really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Unless it's,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Yeah.
unless you're some sort of diehard and you
Or
have
it's
your
a
own
dive bar.
and you have your own stool there with your name on it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Anyways.
Think
All
of all the
right.
people that are gone.
Talk
Lost a lot of people. A lot of people are no longer with us now.
All right. Well,
That were,
that's
I
a
mean,
story for
That's
us.
different. No.
Yeah, let's
I know.
bring the room down.
I know.
You
Want to bring the room down?
Let's-
We're laughing. My
Well, that's what I mean. I
sciatica's
was trying to
bothering me
have this
pretty
on a
bad.
somber
I hope I
note.
don't have cancer by this time next year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
God.
God, I got Alzheimer's. I just
oh,
can't remember what
I was
else.
looking at Greg. I was thinking of Greg when I said that. I'm like, oh.
Oh, Greg.
And then it made me think of Greg and Six Pack.
Six pack in his belly button.
Yep.
We are doing a show. We are going to have a show dedicated to
The Lost.
The Lost.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I'd like to have you on there. I'm going to have Scott Sterling will be on.
Geez, there's a ton of people. I mean,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
you know.
But just telling stories. And I don't know if we're even going to make it part of the regular show. I think we're going to.
Did you ever get anybody from Jones, like Dracula Jones, Jeff Jones, any of those guys? So you should talk
no.
to all of them.
No,
Those
I
guys
know.
Were,
I would
No, I
like
know.
to.
Mike Roy, Dog Boy from Bone China, all of that. They were big. Those were like the guys that were cranking in the '90s. Really.
I had a quick talk with Steve Feldman about that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to have Steve on because he's doing well with his recording studios, and
Yeah. One thing we didn't touch on too was the whole me and Steve Shad thing, which was that was another big relationship for me.
Love
Very
Steve
important
Shad.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Steve's a great guy.
so we have to
very good
give a
guy.
shout out to Steve Shad. We had Shad on the
We
show,
did.
and we loved it. And
Yep.
I've actually talked to someone who's been talking to Pasica.
Someone that's been talking to Pasica.
Yeah, he's been jamming with them lately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know somebody. Trying to remember who the.
yeah. Anyways, the listeners
Yeah.
don't care.
Anywho.
about this shit.
I know who it is because I think I talked to Joan actually recently,
Mhm.
but Greg Pasica, another great guy,
Great guy.
wonderful guy, man. That's how I met. That's how George. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I never would have known George without the animation and pro sound guys.
Yeah.
Greg Jackson, another guy that's gone, but
Yeah.
rest in peace.
Yeah. Bringing the room
But
down.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Bringing the room down.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. Those.
How do we
those
get stuck
guys
on
were-
death?
Well, they're like the next. I know,
He's
it's
the
not-
next in line.
it's
He's
not-
the oldest
it's
one.
not-
He's the oldest one out of the three of
Come
us.
on.
He's next.
I'm the next one. in
He's
line. Come on,
next.
I got several years, I think, before I got to worry about
That's
that.
great.
Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
Say that about your friend.
Well, I'll be there.
Excuse me. Wait.
I'll be
Say
saying
that about
words.
your friend.
It better not happen on a Monday. We record.
Sorry, can't come to your calling hours. We got to record.
Love you.
Oh
Love you
boy.
too. Is that it? Are we done?
I think we should wrap it
I
up.
think we should wrap this up.
It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and you don't even realize that.
Has it really been?
Yeah.
Hey, what did we tell him?
I know.
I know you did say that.
He said
I was like an
hour.
Oh
Holy
my God.
I go, dude.
I gotta fill
I
an
gotta
hour.
Talk to you
Oh.
for an hour.
We had Bill Barrow.
Blau.
Blau. Well, he's not listening, but the bass player from George Thorogood.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, an hour. Boy, that seems like." And then we get done. He's like, "We've got
That's
like
been an
3 more
hour?
hours to do. I got so many stories I could tell you." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Cool."
Right.
We're
Yeah.
like, no.
I'm sure they're.
We'll schedule another time, Bill.
Do you know the longest break that band has ever taken was 12 weeks, and that's it.
During COVID.
And they've been touring
Really?
since
Yes.
1978.
6.
8.
No, they got together in 76. They started touring in 78.
Yeah. Well, I saw him at the State Fair a couple summers ago, and George, he just looked like he was having a fucking ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I mean, he looked like he was having a ball backstage, and he would come out like he would come up, and you're like, oh my God, Yeah, I know that look. We know that look.
Yep.
But God bless him. He's the guy's like, what is he? He's got to be 70,
78?
70s. Yeah. I mean, he's like our parents' age. But
Yeah.
The band was still.
Yeah. They're not playing Del Lago now.
Oh, they're not.
Delaware Destroyers, huh? They're not doing what? They're not playing at Del Lago.
They're not playing
They're
Del
supposed
Lago.
to play
no.
Del Lago in
They're,
like June or July or something.
Yeah, they're playing in September.
I remember going to see them back in the early '80s. They played at like the old MacArthur Stadium.
Yeah.
Right. They would have like shows back there, before they tore it down and built the new stadium.
They played at
the old Big Mac.
They played at the community college in Auburn.
He'll take any gig.
He will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless him, man.
I think that's what it really is. Like they're really like a working bar band that just happened to like, hey, at some point we started making records and the stages got bigger.
That's basically what
really,
he said.
But really, they I think they take it like that's like, hey, it's this is what it is, like
he said the first band, that
pretense.
He said the first band that took them out was the Stones.
The Rolling Stones.
No kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. The first band you go out and open up for is the Rolling Stones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's got to be like, you imagine that, but those first couple of gigs, like you'd be shitting your pants. Like, okay, this is like, it doesn't really get any bigger than that.
Well, and then when he was talking about his influences, he said, the Rolling Stones. And then all of a sudden, the first band you go out with is the Rolling Stones. And he's, awesome. You have your holy shit moment. But most down to earth son of a gun you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, he was a great guest. By the time
I think him and Storm and Norman.
Oh, Storm and
Oh
Norman.
my God.
Norm.
I can't remember his. Oh, God.
Norm Ross.
Nope. Yeah, Norm Ross. He plays bass for Brett Michaels' solo band.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
we said Storm and Norman. There was a local guy, Phil Norman. And then there was also who was the singer that played with the singer for Ruckus? His last name I want to say was Norman, too. Anyway,
not
Dirt Road Ruckus.
Like the real Ruckus.
Yeah, Ruckus.
No. This is an old metal band.
Yeah.
Ruckus,
Yeah. We don't confuse
Randy
people.
Jingleski, Randy Miles, whatever. And then,
right.
I can't remember any of
Yeah, we've had some very down to earth, cool. I mean, when we had Kua on.
Oh my God!
What a great guy he was.
He came into when I was in high school and he had just started playing with the Outlaws.
The Outlaws, yeah.
He came in and we all went. We were like, oh wow, nicest guy. Just like well, like he was explaining because we were all like, I want to know what it's like to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Well, did you take lessons from his father?
No.
Ben Morrow did.
Yeah, Ben did.
No, Ben and I used to study with Rick Balestra.
Rick Balestra.
Rick Balestra was somewhere in my early, really kind of like around the Below Zero time. I was studying with either Rick or Joe Jewell, right? Who are two phenomenal guitar players. There's one and two right there, right? And it was cool because Ben would be ahead of me. And I would get, he would come out and then we'd all shoot the shit for a couple of minutes. This went on for like years. That's why I said, I remember Ben, I don't think we ever hung out outside of that context, but,
No, he was in high school,
nice
Bill.
Guy.
Yeah, he was in high school.
Yeah, no, he was always very nice.
But
Rick was a funny guy too.
Oh, Rick was great. Yeah. I think that when you find your kindred spirits, your like-minded individuals from this area,
right?
Immediately you have, it's like, oh, well, you're from Syracuse.
Yeah, exactly.
The respect comes, Even Mike Sterito being from Rochester, even Mike, it was birthday the other day. I sent him a message and we're going back and forth, but these are cool. They're just people. But they're cool people that could be, some of the biggest rock stars that we've had on the show are the coolest, and some of the even local people we've had are the most pompous, dumb.
They can be the worst, I should say.
Yeah. So
just
that's why we end every show the same way and tell people to.
The sweetest person out of everybody that I ever met was Lita Ford. Hands down,
I know.
The nicest.
I know.
She we open for tons of national bands. Usually, and I get it. They're on the roads. they don't want to know a fucking thing. They don't talk to you. You know what I mean? Like she made an effort. She would come out and like, oh, like, oh, go get, drink on my tab. I mean, she was so nice.
Yeah.
We were just like, because we'd already opened for a ton of other, we were like, wow, did that really happen? She was so sweet.
Well, that was the day that you opened up for her, that Greg had me driving her around. And she and I went to the mall. And she said, well, let's pretend I'm your girlfriend today. And I'm like, yeah, people are going to believe that, but it's cool.
Yeah.
And I was
she
like,
hot.
Oh,
she's a ripper.
She's still
still
beautiful.
I know.
Yes, beautiful.
Little. She was little.
Yeah.
She looks so tall in the pictures now, but she's very petite.
She's wearing 9-inch platform boots.
Right. Very nice. Super sweet woman, for sure.
Lita.
Will you stop?
Yeah.
Were you going to ask a question? What?
Bill, who was the worst national act you opened for? If you're willing to say.
Bill?
Yeah.
Or I should say that treated you the worst or whatever.
Well, I don't know that. I did a gig once, like a one-off gig. We opened for Skid Row at Inner Harbor. This is like 12, 15 years ago, right?
Yes.
And they didn't.
Yes.
They didn't treat us bad. They didn't treat us like they literally those guys. Here was our interaction with them, like total, right? I think everybody's interaction. They pulled up on a bus when it was their time to get. They got off the bus, walked up the ramp, went out, did the gig, got done with the gig, walked back off the ramp, got on the bus, and drove away. Like nobody talked to him. Like they didn't talk to fucking one person, at all from any of it, right? Because it was us, it was the Rods, who were Rods, another super awesome, great bunch of people. Right?
We had Carl on. Carl Kennedy.
Yeah, Carl Kennedy, and I don't know why Feinstein, Dave Feinstein, right? He owns the Hollywood, in Cortland, right? The Hollywood restaurant.
Yeah.
He's there like any given night. You can go in and there's, when he's not on the road, probably playing to ungodly amounts of people, very sweet people, but they were super nice, Carl and
I've eaten there quite a bit.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I would say they were probably that was probably the most I don't know. I mean, the Bullet Boys were neutral, I think I was trying to think of, they were kind of, we really wanted to talk to them and they were just kind of like, can't be bothered. Because we did a couple of nights with them, but I don't know. But I don't have any horror stories. I mean,
That's too bad.
Yeah.
We thrive on those.
Right.
Yeah, we thrive on those.
I've heard of horrors. I mean, well, I can tell you one that we didn't open up for him, but so we were all Lost Horizon regulars, right? We were all part of the family. When Yngwie the Lost,
we've told this story.
You have.
Dick, what a dick! So it was funny because he had just gotten a new roadie, right? And the guys in the band had pitched in and got him a shirt that said "Kill me, kill me now," right? Right. And they were telling us, they were going, "Oh, he is such a fucking asshole." And we already knew this from a previous experience that me and Mark Van Marter had with Yngwie several years before that. But anyway, they were like, "Oh, like he's like the kind of asshole. Like, let's say he's playing and the guitar goes down, and he's got to swap one out, right? They have to hide that guitar. They will hide it from him because if he knows, like he's such a douchebag, right? If he knows that guitar." Like if he sees it, he knows it's fucked up. He'll be like, "I want that one," right? Just to fuck with him. Right? I'm like, what an ass! Like, what a fucking cock. But so anyway, after the show, that particular show, we were helping the band out with something. Something with. We'll just say we were doing them a favor. We get on the bus and Yngwie was and it was just being such a cock. And anyway, I would say that's probably the biggest, dickhead asshole fucking story I know of.
No shit.
And there was, and I had two of them with it. We have two of them with them too. When they opened for Triumph,
that's the one you always tell.
That's the autograph one.
And me and Mark Van Marter went
from signing
because we ran into Wally
autographs.
Boss the night before. Right. And he was like, "Hey, my fucking hand hurts from signing all these autographs." You're like, to these kids that are standing in line, you're like, what a fucking, you know what? Fuck you. Give me your hand. I wanted to break it with a fucking hammer. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, and now it hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah. How's it feel now?
Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, but
whatever. Whatever. He's a cranky artist. Whatever. I get it. Great player. I mean, you can't take anything.
No, you couldn't.
No.
But he could be. You don't have to be quite as much of an asshole.
I can tell you, he won't listen to this podcast, so we're good.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, but I don't. You really don't like to talk shit about any. Because anybody that does anything in this business, I don't care what degree it is, you have to respect them. Right? I don't know, but
who did we have on that worked with him and like praised and like, oh, he's a great. And like,
I do remember that, but I can't remember who it was.
It wasn't Mike Goldberg.
I don't think so.
No, Mike's a producer. So, or maybe it was
that's probably why.
Maybe it was Rev Jones. I don't know.
Could have been.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Well, he might. He very well could be good. Like the guys in his band, 2 of them were brothers that he'd played with since they were kids.
Right.
The keyboard player and the drummer. Back when in those days, right? I'm not sure if they're still with him or whatever, but they were like, because we're like wondering, everybody's hanging out in this green room. We're going, well, where's Zingbe? And they're telling us, well, every night after he gets out, he listens to the playback tape end to end. He will listen to the playback tape every single night. First thing he does when he gets off stage is, as soon as it's available, he'll go and listen to the tape because he wants to hear who did what, and so he has a critique, and that way he can go and yell at everybody. Like you fucked up on that, shit like that, right? Kind of like, it sounds like
I wonder.
Have you ever heard the classic stories of who was the drummer there? Buddy Rich on the bus. Have you ever heard those?
No, but I've been in contact with his daughter.
You got to listen to those recordings of him on the tour bus talking to the band. They are just brutal, classic, but hysterical.
That's awesome.
Because you're like, wow, this guy is such an asshole, but at the same time, he's so fucking funny.
But Buddy Rich didn't. He wouldn't travel. He'd follow in his. What did he have? A Ferrari or something?
I don't know.
What's his name was telling us?
That guy.
Rick Latham was telling us about. Rick Latham was telling us about how. The bus would show up and then he'd pull up in his car. He didn't even want to ride with him. He wanted to drive his sports car. He said,
Interesting.
But Buddy Rich's daughter, they're still touring with a Buddy Rich band. And there's the guy that sits and plays all of Buddy's stuff. And she's gonna be on the show.
I mean, drummer. I mean,
Yeah.
That's when the guy could drink drink a whiskey, smoke a cigarette, and still keep playing, But that was back in the
perfect. Without Yeah. It's insane to watch him play. Right. It really is.
The drum solos were just unbelievable.
He would be. Oh, he was so brutal on his band. So hard. He'd get so pissed. Like, you know what? Pull the fucking bus over. Pull the fuck over. Get the fuck out. He's like throwing guys off like in the middle of a highway somewhere. Just
like Scott Schrader.
It's classic. Me and Gary Briggs and Frank Newbert would listen to those tapes and laugh, and then we would be like, we would use the lines that he had like on each other, like, "What is this? The House of David baseball team, motherfuckers!" Like he had this thing about all the guys in the band were wearing hats, baseball hats, and had beards. Right? He's going, "I don't want to see any more fucking beards. Get rid of the goddamn beards and these fucking hats. What are we, the House of David goddamn baseball team, motherfuckers?" Right? Just like, he's going on this tirade, but it was hysterical. You're like, wow, like this guy. Anyway. Funny. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up here.
Yeah, we can cut all that shit right out.
Yeah, well, we probably won't.
It won't matter.
That would be way too much editing and way too much work.
We don't edit shit.
There's so many things we could talk about.
Yes.
Want to have you back, Billy?
Yeah. Well, hey, whenever, man. It was a lot of fun. And I'm glad this is working out well for both of you.
Thanks, man.
And yeah. So there it is, I guess. I don't know what.
And you thought we both thought we were going to bring the worst out of each of us on this one.
You what? You thought what?
We both thought we were going to bring the worst stories out of each of us, and I told you it was going to be okay.
No, I would never. No, I mean, some things you just don't.
You just don't talk about.
No.
Because they're still probably indictable. You know?
I don't know what you're talking about. I never had anything to do with it.
What are you trying to say?
Shut up, Billy.
There's no statute of limitations on that shit.
Hate you.
So,
Hate you.
I'm kidding. That was not true at all.
Did you ever hear the song "Not" by Anthrax?
Oh God.
Yes.
When you get home and you work from 11 at night to 7 in the morning, and you just start to fall asleep at 7:15, 7:30, and then you hear this.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, get up. We're gonna hang out.
Remember, we were rehearsing in the base in Bob's house.
Yeah.
Because we'd gotten thrown out of Albino's due to the Steve and Chuck feud.
So, anyways,
let's wrap this up,
those
there,
are the
gentlemen.
stories we could get into.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm going to hit the music now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Bill, sit there.
Bill, stay right there.
The non-J-Ro thing.
Yeah, I told you.
We want to thank Mr. Bill Hatch and his cool.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's my pleasure.
His cool, very effeminate shirt.
We love this shirt. Listen, shout out to James Horan at Vagabond Clothing.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm turning Bill off right now. I just want to hear this. You've been listening to the good, the ugly. I'm Big Bubba.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, it's just Jeff, and that's Mr. Bill Hatch.
That's Bill Hatch.
I want to thank our sponsors:
The Print Shop Underground,
Uncle Jimmy's Local Live Music,
Hogwash,
Snarky Productions,
Blackened Heart Tattoo,
yes, Ultimate Ears,
where you can hear
your own tears,
with Ultimate Ears.
and don't forget Toffee Break Coffee.
No, don't.
I guess
Is that
that's
really
it.
the
I guess
tagline?
instead
you
of
want to
rip.
use for Ultimate Ears.
Yeah, they like it now.
They
Hear-
seem
you
to
can
like
hear
it.
your own tears.
Yes.
With Ultimate Ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, remember what we always say:
Don't be a dick.
don't be a hatch.
Wow.
Be nice to each other. Peace.
Okay.
You go like this, Bill. There it is. Now I can edit. The credits are going to start rolling now.
Right.
Send in the clowns.
Goodbye.
Oh, my God.
Hang on.
Recording
Recording
stopped.